GSL.
Welcome back to GSL Code A. Flash falls 0-2 to some really excellent Youngwa Protoss play versus Terran. Really awesome late game defense, and it all came down to upgrades in that last fight. I feel Flash just throwing unit after unit at Youngwa until he fell.
Yeah, the upgrade's really the big game winner here for the Protoss player. And now it's time for a very different matchup, since we have the Leenock who's currently teamless going up against the Terran player, so is ZVT up next here at the GSL Code A.
I like to see Leenock in his leather jacket. Now you guys get to see what Leenock looks like when he's not wearing his team jacket. He wears that jacket a lot and it looks good on him. These two guys have like similar hairstyles actually, as funny as it is. Just different colors. Something I noticed.
Kinda.
Just fits their heads. They're also similar very well.
Well, Yonso is our first map in this matchup, and Leenock played this matchup several times also during the Code A qualifier where he had to qualify again. So it's going to be quite the match, I feel. This should be an interesting one. Zerg versus Terran, still one of my favorite matches to watch, and let's see what we can expect here on Yonso. Leenock going up against Bravo at the GSL Code A, brought to you by Colin.
Leenock versus Bravo.
The bottom left of Yonso, the first map in the best of 3, we have the Leenock, a former FX Open player, currently teamless. Pretty strong in the matchup against Terran. Really good games at the Code A qualifier, going up against the Terran player to the top right. This is Bravo. Bravo struggling a little bit in the matchup. Only a 30% win ratio against Zerg.
Yeah, he's the thing about Bravo is he seems to feel a lot of pressure. He gets a little bit nervous sometimes, and he's made a few mistakes just because of what seems to me to be nervousness or pressure. And this is again a high pressure situation for him because he's playing against someone who's got so much experience in StarCraft II, so many fans. You know, StarCraft II fans specifically. There are no StarCraft I fans for Leenock. There are no Kespa fans for Leenock. He's just the ESF guy who's now teamless, who's trying to eliminate Bravo, knock him down to the loser's match. And we see a gas and a barracks going up here, and Leenock, of course, going to go hatchery first, as this is Zerg versus Terran.
Yeah, we're going to see the standard opening for Terran, sending the Reaper out to find out what is taken the main base of Leenock, if that's gas, how much was mined. Just getting those information right off the bat, and Leenock himself with a scout, having the drone at the top right, that's also, of course, to confirm that there's no proxy on the map and to double check if there's really going to be a gas opening or if the opponent maybe tries to be a little bit more greedy even in the match and starts with the command center a lot earlier than usual.
Yeah. There's that Reaper, the exact Reaper you mentioned. This is a very safe way of playing the matchup. And Leenock, of course, not taking gas before pool. As this matchup kind of gets more and more figured out, there's like, you know, a few ways to follow things up as a Zerg player. And Leenock is one of the players who is more aggressive than most. Like, he will be the type to do a big speedling attack to try to force a lift at the natural if there's no bunkering or no wall. He's unpredictable, and it's very hard to actually predict how he's going to play without scouting.
He played a couple of really aggressive roach pushes during the qualifier against Terran, and it's something that he can do on a map like this. So for now, it's just a question of how much does he invest into gas, like how much gas does he actually mine? Is it only going to be the 100 for speed? Is it going to go for a few roaches here as well? He knows, of course, that there is a Reaper coming his way. He already scouted that earlier, and we even have a second Reaper being built. So for him, the first objective has to be to try to shut those two down, so that there is not going to be any scouting, and then from there on he can just take it into his tech of choice. Of course, the usual game that we would see in this matchup would be a Ling Meter Baneling, where you then try to get your Hive Tech out a little bit faster these days to just go into additional Brood Lords, or even have the Ultralisk. There are a couple of options that you have depending on what the current player does. But the first thing is always trying to shut down the Reaper so that you can maybe even sneak in an aggressive strategy, which Leenock has done in the past several times.
One drone goes down. It's double Reaper here for Bravo, who puts quite heavily. Almost loses one of his Reapers. Needs to be very careful with that now. And the drone actually going down to Maynard turns around. He knows that transferring during the Reaper's reign of the ramp is not a good idea. They're actually going to try to get one more drone kill. He won't get it.
Leenock is still mining gas. He is still getting gas right now.
And this is something the Reapers have not identified, actually.
Yeah, they just now make their way into the main base. No, I think they actually want to try to jump down and maybe kill a few additional harvesters. I have to say that Bravo is doing a lot of pressure with this. With only 2 Reapers, he can do a whole lot. I've seen the Zerg players completely shut down a double Reaper build with just a single Queen and a few Zerglings, but Bravo with his micro is really making this work.
Yeah, he's got so much multitasking here, as we're seeing. Trying to actually kill another Ling here, doesn't get it. But the thing is, getting the information about what is happening is also something that's quite critical to Reapers, and he does not get that. He has no idea. And I worry that he doesn't know who he's dealing with here, because this is now a Leenock on 2-base with Lair, and I think this could be the 2-base Lair Spire Leenock that we've seen in the past.
Yeah, 2-base Spire is always a little bit chancy. This is one of those builds where you go the huge risk of when it's being scouted and immediately countered by a few well-placed missile turrets, then you didn't really do a whole lot. You neglected that 3rd base for quite some time and you really tried to rush that Spire out, but you couldn't do damage. You will control the map for a little bit, and that gives you a lot of map presence, and you can keep the Terran player on 2 or 3 bases. But that's a position for a Terran player where they're not... I mean, they feel pretty comfortable on this spot, just because for them, the biggest objective is to just get their own upgrades out so that they can then dominate the late game. And for now, we have actually something from Bravo that we don't see that often. We have Cloak upgrade, here 4 Banshees, but it's spotted by the Overlord, even though the position for the starport is quite nice. And the Banshee itself has also been spotted, so... yeah, in terms of scouting, Leenock definitely doing the better job here.
And this is great for Leenock, because not only does he identify the Banshee, but he identifies mech. There's no Marines being produced. He sees that. It's also the Banshee coming out in the continued Hellion production, and he knows that it's mech coming. And with the layer that he already has, plus the mutas he's going to come out with, Banshees are not going to be a big concern from him. And with mutas this fast against mech, you can do so much to control the map.
Yeah, Spire is currently being built, and he has those Warcrawlers already. That's definitely going to give him that safety net that he needs. On the other hand, we have now the engineering base started, second one, and also we see the armory. So looks like we're going to see a couple of upgrades after all.
Yeah, and the armory will allow him to get a Thor out to help deal with those annoying Mutalisks. And this Banshee is totally shut down. This is that scouting you were talking about. You see this coming. It's really easy to defend. Is he going to lose the Banshee to this? Wow.
That was a bit weird.
I'm telling you, sometimes I think Bravo gets nervous, and this may be one product of that.
Yeah, that shouldn't have happened. I'm not quite sure what he was thinking there, but that was... he was occupied somewhere else on the map. There wasn't really something going on, so that's really unfortunate for him. Losing a Banshee is always quite sad for the Terran. Just even if you don't do damage, that's the threat that the Banshee goes into the base again, and this is something that he can't really use anymore to his advantage. He has another Banshee there, yes, that's true, but still, losing that one Banshee that is always hovering around the main base, this is a bit unfortunate for him.
Banshee's not in the right spot actually to stop the hatchery from going down, so the hatchery will get started, and the Banshee is going to come over here and annoy that, but I don't think it's going to be able to kill the hatch. Hellions, meanwhile, are actually fighting against Lings over here, but they get surrounded, and Bravo is making some very critical mistakes here. He forces the cancel actually on that hatchery, just barely, and gets the drone, so that's nice for him. I think that's what he was really focused on when the Hellions got surrounded, but he loses so many Hellions. Look at the supply, I mean...
yeah, the problem is that the Hellions were his presence on the map, and the Hellions were designed to keep the Zerg low a little bit, contest that 3rd base if possible, try to snipe the drone, and also keep the count of creep tumors low, and that's something he can't do anymore. And wow, he catches the rest of the Hellions. That is really, really bad for Bravo right now.
Bravo is like probably never going to be able to take a 3rd base. I mean, it starts to seem that way with already the Spire is ready, mutas are out, he's got a massive amount of Zerglings, Leenock, that is to control the ground. There are no Hellions, and siege tanks that are coming out right now are not going to be too useful at securing a 3rd base. The Thor will.
Well, he has this combination of Vikings and the missile turrets, and this is really nice, because the Vikings, they cannot fight the Mutalisks head-on, but they can always zone them out thanks to their range, and the Mutalisks, as soon as they get close enough, are going to be attacked by the missile turrets immediately. So this is really nice if you want to just defend your bases. Bravo had a lot of missile turrets scattered across those 2 bases that he currently has, so that really works well for him, and he's trying to get that 3rd base. But
he really is trying hard.
The problem for him is that Leenock is controlling the entire map, meaning that he can take base after base after base now and just start his take. The Terran player will need some time to really get this composition out that can walk across the map and start taking bases and the army of Leenock down. And Leenock is going to use that time well.
Leenock doesn't see this base being moved right now. Doesn't try to poke with his mutas or anything like that. With the Thor here now and those Vikings they were talking about with their range, he's not going to be able to deny it. especially because it's already landed now. Leenock doesn't have any ranged units. He's just relying on Ling Muta alone right now. And these Hellions, he's trying to control them with his Mutas. Good splits here by Bravo this time. He's now under attack here, and this time he doesn't have the Hellions to support his Thor nor his Siege Tank. He will probably save the Thor with the repair. It's really close.
Wow, yeah, gets the Thor, but that was a close encounter.
That was a good trade for Bravo, who now takes a supply lead. And Leenock is doing what he can here. He doesn't actually have his 5th and 6th gases up yet.
I'm a little bit surprised that we don't see a 4th base for Leenock yet. He gets that macro hatch, which is important for him to just make sure that he has the lava later on, that he can produce units. The Roach Warren is great. You always want to have the Roach Warren against mech so that you can contest, of course, Hellion run buys and Hellbats and whatnot. But a 4th base would really be important for him. He needs to get this bank. Because against mech, one of the things that's very important is that you get your good upgrades out, that you have a good bank so that you can always start to go into tech transitions and keep the Terran. There's the 4th now. Oh, I have thought that he gets that a little bit faster than that.
He had a really late 3rd base, and his 3rd base gases were really late too.
You always want to go into the hive deck too. We do not have an infestation pit just yet.
And this is a fairly comfortable position, I have to say, for Bravo, because he has a 3rd base up now secured. Something that I didn't think was going to be this easy for him to do against such an early Spire and all those Lings that were on the map. He has these Siege Tanks ready for the defense of the Roaches, which he scouted earlier. He even has a Banshee starting to help out. The turret's up here as well, so he's not going to be able to break through. He does get the Banshee.
The one other thing that I want to mention is that I think it's not the best choice to go into the +2 attack upgrade, because what he identified already earlier is that we have a lot of missile turrets for Bravo and we have those Vikings. So zoning out and defending is not going to be a problem. Usually with the Mutalisk you go for hit and run. That's why you research the attack upgrades first. You don't want to fight. You go in, you do damage and you move back. He cannot really do that all that well, just because this combination of Vikings and missile turrets is very, very strong. But with the Thor count, what he has to do later on is actually fight and then magic box. As the Thor has 4 attacks, an armor upgrade goes a long, long way for Mutalisks and air units in general.
Yeah, it applies the armor upgrade 4 times.
So if you don't go into Hive and you rely on a combination where Mutalisks play a role, you might want to magic box the Thors and force the Terran player to build a couple of additional Thors. There comes the armor upgrade, but I really would have liked him to start the armor upgrade, like get +1 attack, then when he identifies what he's up against, start the armor upgrades. He's getting them now because he also has to. But a +2 armor upgrade, for example, if that would now have been started or finished, he could have actually started to fight a few of those stores or also do something against the missile turrets. But
right now, I was just going to say, right now, I feel like Bravo's income is insane. He has 81 Harvesters, something that he's going to throw away so many of a little bit later. But right now, if he takes a 4th base, which he has so many orbitals, he has so many extra orbitals, he even has 2 more orbitals finishing up right now. As soon as he takes that 4th base where he's starting to build some turrets up to the top left, then he can mine so much and build such a big bank. And, you know, Leenock, he just needs to make sure that he's doing the same, which he is right now. He's taken now even a 5th base to the top left. He has the 4th base gases.
He's going Mass Muta now. And Mass Mutalist is really great if you have that magic boxing, but the thing is that we have a lot of missile turrets and those Thors. I am personally a huge fan of the Mutalist transition later. If you play ground first against your opponent, force him into more tanks than Thors, and then you go into a massive Mutalist transition based on the better economy that you have. And Leenock is getting that economy now. He's also going for the 2nd Spire so that he can start with the double upgrades, but for that to happen he has to start Hive, which is why we see the Infestation Pit now. He's getting all those bases on the map, and he cannot cluster up. Oh my god, that's
I think like 6 Mutas might have there.
Clustering against Thors is that you only do that if you have Death Wish.
Well, those drones had a Death Wish. They didn't burrow fast enough to escape, and you know, even had he burrowed, the scan would have revealed them. There's so much anti-muta defense on the map that I like what you're saying. You know, maybe transitioning to Mutalist later could have been something that made a little bit more sense. But as it is, he's still in an okay spot because he has this base. He needs to re-drone the base to the top left. But his gas income is still quite nice. He's got about 1,000 per minute.
A very good example is the game that I just recently casted between Imaga and Yoda, where Yoda went for mech as well, and then Imaga decided to start things off with ground and then later switch to the Mutalist. But right now, those mutas, they take down the missile turrets, but here there are so many, and you know, those missile turrets go between the bases. As soon as he approaches one of the actual mining bases of Bravo, there are way too many turrets. There are the Thors and also the Vikings, and starting things off with the Mutalisks just allows his opponent to go straight into Thors, and having those Vikings ready, and transitioning out of that is going to be very difficult for Leenock without that hive tech completed, and he doesn't, for example, Ultralisk, he can't go into Ultralisk, he doesn't have any upgrades for Swarm Hosts. Leenock has to be so super careful here. This is very dangerous because Bravo is now starting to move out and Leenock cannot fight this army.
No,
he has to run past it and try to force Bravo back.
Well, I like that he's attacking with roaches here. Leenock identified one thing very intelligently. The siege tank count is very low. It was at 7 at the time they started to attack. This planetary will be repaired and easily replaced by all these orbitals. Notice that actually a lot of the time Bravo doesn't make his bases into orbitals because he knows that he can replace a planetary with a regular command center by lifting it and then morphing it later.
And look what we just saw, 25 additional Mutalisks being built, and I think it's a mistake. I do not think he can make that work because he needs something on the ground. We have 11 Thors already and 11 Vikings, and Thors and Vikings in combined
can crush Mutalisks.
Very, very dangerous. You have to have such incredible unit control to really work against this, and I'm not quite sure if he can do it. It's possible, but like it's really, really tricky.
The only thing that's better against Mutalisks than this is Irradiate from StarCraft 1. That's basically the only thing better, and maybe Psystorm. I mean, this is... He's just avoiding the army, and he clusters Mutalisks up a little bit here. The magic boxing is decent.
Against 2, it's no problem. As long as there are only 2 Thors, you can make that work. And that's also something that Bravo is very well aware of. This is why he's currently flying back with his Vikings, because he realizes he needs those combined with the Thor. And that's another Thor that Bravo just gives Leenock, and also the siege tanks here. Now he's approaching a lot of those missile turrets on the other hand, and that's going to get a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, he's approaching the missile turrets. The Vikings actually can't
fight like this. Yeah. Bravo, what are you doing?
I think he was hoping another Thor was going to pop out in time, but he baits the Mutalisk back. Just a few more shots. But Mutalisk control here from Leenock is actually quite decent, though.
Yeah, but Leenock doesn't care about this. He killed so many Vikings, losing 2 or 3 Mutalisks because of that is alright.
Yep. And gets away.
And now think about how that would have worked out for Leenock if he had the 2+2 arm upgrade already completed.
Yeah, it would have been much better for him for sure.
But like, this is... Bravo has to be super careful here. He's throwing away a lot of his anti-air units and doesn't accomplish a lot with them.
3 more Thors being made at the same time as 2 more Mutas coming out.
Leenock can actually magic box those Thors, that's not enough.
This is going to be really easy for him to clean up. It's only 2.
Bravo has a very immobile army, and he's making a few mistakes in how he approaches these battles. He's feeding Leenock 2, 3 Thors at a time and a couple of Vikings, where he has to really try to keep his units together.
His bank in minerals is actually basically gone. He needs more time. Leenock's income in minerals is much better here, even though he lost that base at the top left.
The thing that's really great about what Bravo does is that he really gets this many missile turrets, because the one advantage that Leenock has is mobility. Mutalisks are so fast, so you need to have those turrets everywhere where you have bases. But the rest of the army, that has to be like one moving ball of death, where that just moves from base to base and forces Leenock at some point to fight. You keep those missile turrets there and maybe 1 Thor per base, so that when the Mutalisks clump up because you right-click into one of the turrets, the Thor gets his shots off.
That was a really scary moment there for those drones. You barely got those out, but the Thor count is now up to 10. 10 versus 33 Mutalisks. 3 upgrades being started for Mutalisks right now. That's going to be actually better than the mech upgrades currently. 4 siege tanks being added here because he, I suppose, fears a transition into roaches because he has so many Thors out and he wants to make sure he has the siege tanks to bolster as well. This is too many Thors for him to fight with the 2 Thors coming from the right side and the Vikings here.
Yeah, a lot of those Mutalisks are going down, and this is exactly what Bravo had to do, keeping those Vikings and the Thors together. The Viking count is now a little bit low, but with only 23 Mutalisks left. Keep a look at the income actually, and also at the bank that we have. It's really reduced right now. Leenock doesn't have that massive bank for a switch anymore. He can still build 10 Mutalisks. He's going to +3/+3 now, utilizing the double spire. But he is very much a one-trick pony at this point in time.
Yeah, he's really stuck on this composition right now. And he wants to buy as much time as possible to keep up his gas income. He has the ability to take that base to the bottom right, and I feel like that's something we may see him do soon, because that's really difficult for Bravo to attack. He's just waiting a little bit longer to do so. Bravo was doing exactly as you said, putting it looks like about 2 Thors per base plus the turrets, and starting to move across the map to attack these bases directly by ground. And Leenock kind of has to turn around here with his Mutalisks, but this time I think there might be too much, and he's not going to be able to assault this force directly.
Leenock has a great bank, but what is he building? He cannot just simply build more Mutalisks.
Oh, what else can he build?
Well,
roaches only, maybe, but like...
maybe Roaches, but Roaches against Thors is also not the best, especially if you do not have the upgrades, and he doesn't have them for the ground army.
This is looking really bad for Leenock. This base is going to go down. He's already lost his 5th base to the top left.
There we go, 22 Mutalisks, he's going for it.
His upgrades are really solid, though, don't forget, and he's about to have 3/3 upgrades.
Yeah, but that's also true for the Terran play. He's already on +3 attack and has nearly, well, has his 3rd armor upgrade started.
This is, again, Leenock just trying to find an opening. He's eliminating a lot of siege tanks here, but again, siege tanks not really the problem, as we talked about before. And so many turrets here. It's just Leenock can fight the turrets, but it's not going to be efficient for him.
Yeah, it's just the Roaches. The Roaches are a little bit of a problem for Bravo because they move between the bases and force those siege tanks out of position so that the Mutalisks can actually snipe them.
Leenock's bank is down to basically 0 in gas. He's got less than 100 gas right now. He's down to 41 harvesters as well. This is looking like a losing battle for him.
Well, it's 42 Mutalisks. That is a lot. There are only 8 Thors left. I mean, I say only. This is a lot about how well you spread your Mutalisks in the fight.
Yeah, it's
Bravo
like 5 to 1.
Needs to be super careful here. With 3/3, you know, Leenock can win that battle with a really good split of the Mutalisks. You can actually still target fire when you spread your Mutalisks with Magic Box. You can do that.
Yeah.
You just have to press right click and then stop, and the Mutalisks still shoot at one single Thor. So with good micro and unit control, unit can win a battle like this. Also against 8 Thors. He can ignore those 6 Vikings up to the point where the Thors are dead.
Well, he's eating a few shots here. The Thors are relatively split. The Speedos are split, and he's going to win this fight for sure.
Leenock is going to take this. But
at what cost is the question. He's going to be able to eliminate all these siege tanks, that's for sure. And 4 more Thors at a time being made. Bravo has that bank in gas, but the mineral bank for him is still a little bit low.
Also, we went with you. Bravo is starting to give Leenock the game. The Thors are all going to down. That's a massive amount of cost that he had there. He has only 1 Thor left. The Vikings are gone. The biggest obstacle for Leenock are currently the missile towers. And Leenock, I think after this game, seriously, when this ends, he has to go over to the booth of Bravo and take his hand and say thank you.
We'll see what happens here. This drone problem that he has is starting to get a little bit exacerbated. It's going to buy a little bit of time here for Bravo because he's going to take out these Hellbats. But meanwhile, the Thors are being rebuilt at about 4 at a time, but it takes him so long to do so, and Leenock's Mutalisk count is still quite high. +3 armor is going to be done for the Thors relatively soon, and he's also getting Widow Mines. I like this choice a lot because the Widow Mines are going to help out a lot against Magic Box and Mutas.
Yeah, they're definitely going to help him. If you walk into Widow Mines, and there we go, a couple of good shots going off, but Bravo is now the one who has to be very careful. This is a lot of Mutalisks still, 34 with 3/3 upgrades, so if those 5 Thors are being caught somewhere on the map without the support of missile turrets or Widow Mines, they are going to die.
I like this sensor tower placement by Bravo so much. It allows him to know exactly where the Mutalisks are coming from at any given moment. A few Banelings out on the map, actually, interestingly enough. 3 more Thors being made. The Widow Mine upgrade is completing. I don't know what happened there. He canceled the Infestation Pit.
He has one already.
Yeah.
I was very surprised to see that. I'm like, all right. But apparently, he double-checked.
Do you think he's going to try to neural with some of these Infestors? He doesn't have neural parasite researched, but I don't see what Infestors do against Thors except try to immobilize them, but that's not going to be too helpful.
Well, it could also be just against the Hellions.
I guess that's a good point.
The Hellions that we always saw there were a little bit annoying, and that might be one of the things that he's trying to do here.
And Hellions do get cleaned up by these Mutas here. So many turrets going down. Bravo has this mineral bank now back up a little bit. 2 more Thors coming out, and Leenock has fought his way back into not dying. And he still has this crazy awesome Mutalisk force, but he can't fight directly. He's just kind of camping on his bases, making sure they stay secure. The Hellions can't harass him anymore while he recovers. All these scans going on all over the map. Bravo's trying to identify always where are the Mutalisks, where do I need to be. Oh, and this is where he needs to be. Mutalisk taking a ton of fire there.
Yeah, 3 going down, but this really shows how important that +3 armor upgrade is, because that was a lot of shots from those Thors, and they didn't really kill too many Mutalisks just yet. They damaged a few, but those hit points are going to be regenerated very soon. We have the Greater Spire now coming into the picture with a potential for Brood Lords. And at the same time, the Thor is just taking out the bases. So now we have a Thor count of 10 again. You know, Bravo could have been in a much better position already by now, because he had a massive amount of Thors and Vikings, and then he just started feeding them to Leenock. What really helps him though is how he turtles here.
Yeah,
it's just like so many Terran players, when they are in this position, they will undercommit to those. Is that a word? To the missile turrets.
They don't commit enough, I guess, is the better way to say it. But regardless, you're correct. And he's going to eliminate a ton of larvae here. This is something you can do with Hellions as well. They do so much damage to the larva. It's the Greater Spire and the Corruptor transition is solid if he can actually protect his Mutalisk or rather protect the Brewlords from behind.
I would love to see how many starports we have for Viking production.
I don't know if he has like more than even one. I think he only has one starport right now.
Yeah, I think so too. Like we saw, well, actually, I'm not sure, but like we had for earlier double Viking production. Now he's going back into Banshees.
He might just switch the add-on.
Might have done that, yeah. But he needs to identify that he's Bravo needs to identify that he's up against Broodlords soon, and then he needs the Vikings.
That's part of the reason why he spams scans here. There's actually turret pushing across the map. 5 Broodlords on the way. If we see the structure tab, if that gets shown at any point, oh, all these drones are going down. If we see the structure tab, I can see also how many turrets there are, because that would be awesome to know.
I think he had 40 earlier.
Yeah, something like that. Insane amount.
Well, it's a good investment. Like, usually you're limited by the gas, and then you have some minerals, and that's still true for Bravo. So bringing those turrets in there is really the right choice. It also allows him to just set up a point in the middle of the map where he can always retreat to with the rest of his army.
Leenock is just so low on harvesters this whole game. He's been below 50 for basically the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, he's starting to build drones again because those Hellions and the Hellbats, they did so much.
Oh my god, the Mutalisk! No, 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 no!
That is nearly
barely survives some of those, but I mean, one more volley would have killed probably 10 more.
Just lost 12. He lost 12 Mutalisks. He just lost 88 Mutalisks. He just lost 12 Mutalisks because of this move. He clicked to the right side of the map. He had no idea where those Thors were, and he flew right into them.
Well, now he's down to 30. Well, I said 34, but
Bravo needs to run. And Thors are not really good at running, but he needs to get away with them and then get a few more Vikings first.
Yeah, he actually, I still don't know if he knows. Okay, now he knows. But he's not making any Vikings because he can't, because he's maxed out. So he actually has to trade some of these Thors. He's going to let these go. But if he... Okay, so he has at least 2 starports. He's going to want more than that, though, I feel. This harassment with the Widow Mines and these siege tanks is so cool to watch.
Yeah.
He's reducing mining yet again for Leenock here.
Bravo is doing really a decent job. I mean, there are a lot of things in his play that I absolutely love. I feel in terms of unit control, he had a couple of moments where he was making mistakes and made it a little bit easier for Leenock to stay in the game, not fall too far behind. But just in general, he has so many things that are absolutely perfect how he approaches them. How he turtles up on his bases, how he's really identifying what's going on, those scans everywhere, and then the reactions that he has. The Hellions also on the map, yeah, not playing too passive, like being passive in the sense that he defends his bases, also with structures, but at the same time always has units on the maps and tries to do damage and put Leenock in a bad spot.
He makes Mech almost look mobile. I mean, with how much he's been able to go across the map, siege up bases, cut off reinforcements, chase the Mutalisks around oftentimes. And, you know, he shut down the roach attacks. He was able to harass, like you said, with the Hellions the whole game. He's even doing things like killing larvae with the Hellions. And he runs away when the Broodlords are spotted. He's been up in supply the whole game, but Leenock has just been fighting tooth and nail. Now down to 23 harvesters. His income in gas is literally 0. And as soon as Bravo gets enough Vikings to kill the Broodlords, I think he's going to kill Leenock. He's just, I mean, 5 Vikings at a time being produced right now. He's maxed. Transfuse is going down on these just to try to help out. The Infestors are hoping for those miracle fungals on the Vikings.
I mean, Leenock is so down in income now. He's so down in overall supply. The army supply is at 87 against 133, and that's max supply that we're talking about. Bravo, he just needs to get his Viking count up, build a couple of additional Thors, and take the game. Something...
He's throwing SCVs now to get more
Let's
army
be honest
supply.
For a second, something that he could have done already 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, he basically could have. He's just playing super safe. Too safe.
Well, earlier his problem was he was throwing Thors away everywhere. Like 2 Thors here, 1 Thor there, like not keeping them at missile turrets, not just having them on the map somewhere and feeding them to Leenock. If not for that, Leenock would already be out of the game, because if that entire army would have moved in... Now, what is the problem right now? He was starting to do it, but the problem right now is there are Broodlords. Earlier we didn't have any Broodlords, there were only Mutalisks, nothing else. And Bravo could have taken the game there.
Yeah.
But he was a little bit too timid and he was really afraid to move out, and then he started to scatter his Thors too much, lost too many of those. Leenock built additional Mutalisk, and now he has the Broodlords in the game, and that's the danger. So we are going to see that Rings of Liberty-esque style where Leenock is trying to catch the Vikings with a few fungals, and Bravo is just trying to make, once again, Viking Thor work against Mutalisks and Broodlords. And of course those extra Widow Mines that prevent the magic option.
This is 1 of 2 gas mining bases for Leenock. A decent fumble here. And actually starts to chain it. This is actually pretty nice for Leenock. Bravo's losing a ton of Vikings here. They're all going to blow up. There they go. He remaxes instantly, though, basically.
16 are left.
It's still enough. It's still enough to kill the Broodlords, and he's getting even more of them out. He lost a mining base. Leenock, that is. Oh, that was a hard shot to take. The base of the bottom right-ish, not the one that has creep, the one that is completed, has 2 mining gases. The one to the far bottom right is going to have 2 mining gases. Those are the last gas that Leenock's going to have in this game, basically. The 2 extractors that aren't taken in his top left base are basically mined out. And here comes the Hellion Harass. This is something that Bravo has done so well this whole game.
150 harvesters killed over the duration of the game. Yep, that sounds about right. 160. Wow.
And he's killed so much of the larva too. Leenock only has 4 larvae left, despite the fact that he hasn't really made a ton, except drones here and there.
Blue flame Hellion run bys and those Hellbats that we've seen in the game.
1 drone left for Leenock, and he has 50 minerals, so you better not lose that. He just made 5 more, so I guess he's going to be a little bit better than that.
Yeah, I think chances are that Leenock lost this game now.
I would be Leenock is just like, why aren't you killing me?
Because the thing is, like, look at the income that we have for Leenock and compare it to the income that we have for Bravo.
Oh my god! This is why. This is why Leenock hasn't left the game.
Yeah, kill those. He needs to kill those investors, and he needs to kill them fast.
Well, all those Vikings are gonna die with 1 more fungal.
And that's 10 Vikings.
That was like 40 supply.
Died. 10 Vikings.
10 Vikings, so 20 supply or 30, I guess. I don't know how many. I don't know how many Vikings died exactly, but
whoa, what told you already? Don't do math on
he dropped down to 160 supply. That's 40. So that's what I was thinking. He also threw a bunch of SCVs into that, but yeah, don't get me started on the math. But
yeah, the thing is that it should still not change. Well,
and he just has, look at how many Vikings he still has. He just needs to target the Broodlords down 1 by 1.
Okay, here we go. Leenock commits. He moves in and he tries to pull that off. The Mutalisks 15 in numbers. That's not enough. The Mutalisks are going down. This is GG. Bravo takes it.
43-minute game. And Bravo just plays patiently, consistently until the end. He had that weird mid-game moment where he's throwing a lot of Thors away, but he just had like 40 turrets, so Mutalisks could never really completely capitalize on that moment where he was looking a little bit weaker.
Yeah, you know, it was an entertaining game, but it wasn't really the best game from both players. Like we've seen especially Leenock do much crisper strategies, and Bravo was... You cannot throw Thors away like this. They are too expensive, they're too valuable, and he played it in the end like he won the game, and he should have won it. Leenock was a one-trick pony in this game. His only answer was Mutalisks, Mutalisks, Mutalisks. Even
and
though
then some more Mutalisks.
Exactly, and after that he built even more Mutalisks.
Yeah, he made like some Broodlords and then a few more Mutalisks actually.
Yeah, even though he knew that there were a massive amount of turrets at every base, so he never had a chance of taking down the base or the production. And the only thing that really kept him into the game a little bit longer were those roaches that he built, because the roaches were able to just walk between the bases. They were faster than the Thors and the rest of the mech army, and they forced Bravo in a very uncomfortable spot. And Bravo decided to split his army up to just defend those bases, and that's when the Mutalisks suddenly got the kills, because that's when the army that he had, that Bravo had, moved between missile turrets, and that's where Leenock hit. But still, usually, if you're going up against mech, a lot of Zerg players, I've seen so many ZVTs in the last 2 weeks where a Zerg player just tries to make tech switches happen against it. Get a massive economy, make sure that you have 2-3 additional bases compared to the Terran player. Keep the Terran player on 3 or 4 bases, and then you have a massive bank and you start tech switching. You go into Ultralisks, you go into Broodlords, you go into Mutalisks then later on. You always try to force your opponent to either overcommit to ground or to air, and then you go for the other tag. And you have to play that game, I feel, a little bit, because it's really difficult to approach such a strong mech army.
Well, Daedalus Point is Leenock's map that he's chosen here, which is a map that has that open choke point. And look at Bravo, man. He is sweating. He is sweating bullets right now. He's got to be stressed out. I mean, that was a tough game that he just won. Let's see if he can take the 2-0, or if fan favorite Leenock can tie it up 1-1 on Daedalus Point. This is the GSL Code with Caldor and Wolf.